Joe, and for everybody listening, this is not AI versus doctors. That's not what I want you to take away from this conversation. It's doctors plus AI, okay? Because of course AI makes mistakes. Who else makes mistakes? Humans.
The No Sitting on the Sideline Dad podcast, a podcast about a journey of discovery, figuring out life, being a parent, and trying to grow as a human. Welcome to the podcast. Here's your host, Joe Foley.
Welcome back to the podcast. My name is Joe Foley. Before we begin, it's a quick content note. This episode includes discussion of a serious illness, severe pain, caregiving, suicidal thoughts, and assisted suicide. We talk about artificial intelligence to research medical questions. This conversation is not a medical advice. AI can make mistakes. It should never replace a qualified medical professional or emergent care or your own healthcare team. Please use the best judgment and seek medical professionals. My guest today is Emmy Henderson, co-founder of the System and Soul AI Institute. Emmy works with people and organizations that want to use AI in a practical, human-centered way. But this conversation became more personal when she faced a serious health crisis and struggled to get her full medical story understood. She created an AI assistant called Dr. Clara to help organize symptoms, records, questions for a medical team. Today we're going to talk about patient advocacy, caregiving, and where AI can help in medicine without replacing doctors' human judgment. Emmy, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much, Joy, for having me on your show. Excited to chat about AI.
Yes, true, but also your story too. I think, take me back to the beginning of your health crisis. What happened when you realized the medical system was not seeing the whole picture?
Oh, wow, Joe. About 6 months ago, I had spent over 90 days bedbound. It got to the point where I had gotten several viruses back to back, several flus that I just couldn't seem to get out of my system. And my legs started to hurt really badly. And my head had so much brain fog that I called it brain cement. So much so that it made it very difficult for me to walk. And then my husband had to actually buy me a walker. So I was walking around like a senior citizen, and it was very difficult to do anything. That landed me at my primary care's office, which then when they drew blood, I had a seizure in her office, and that landed me in the hospital. So I was in the hospital for 5 days. Mm-hmm. They ran a lot of different tests, Joe. I had neurologists working on me. I had internal medicine doctors working on me. I've had gynecologists and outpatient and immunologists. Nobody could figure out what was going on, but they were all running their own tests individually. And this is when I started to get really frustrated because everyone was running their tests, but nobody would talk to each other.
That's not good. That's not good a thing at all. But as communication, I guess, important, especially in between doctors and stuff to help with your medical care.
Yeah. You know what? I didn't know that this is how our system worked. And I've been in the system for a while, but when you go for something that's very simple, you cut your finger, you go to trauma and take care of it. When something is more complex, I got to see firsthand and experience firsthand how dismissed someone can be when the system is complex. And it's very frustrating because I realized that every single specialty works in a silo and they don't talk to each other. So I had to figure out a way to figure out the pattern of what was going on in my one body that my doctors were missing because they couldn't help me. They weren't getting me any results.
What do you wish the doctors understood sooner? Because I think maybe it would help you in your care.
You know, what I wish doctors understood sooner is first, actually listen to your patients. I know that sounds weird, but listen to them when they tell you something is seriously wrong in a specific area, because they know their body better than anyone. They've been in it longer. Okay. So yes, you are a medical expert, but the patient knows their body best. So please listen to the patient when they tell you that they were fine until a specific date and time. I have specific dates, Joe, that I can track to what happened and why, and they were dismissing me. And I can tell you now, 2 years later, from all this drama, everything goes back to the specific dates and times that I had initially said, but I was dismissed for so long, and that's why these issues continue to happen.
But definitely too, it's kind of a hard thing to deal with and stuff like that.
It really, really is.
How did it take a toll in your relationship with Matt?
You know what? Actually, it didn't take a toll on the relationship with my husband. Matt is amazing. I was worried that it would take a toll on our relationship. I do feel like I am very blessed and very lucky to have such an amazing partner and husband. We don't have children, and that is by choice. So I do realize the privilege of being able to have his full attention, right? So we're not a divided household. He didn't have to divide his time to anyone else. So I feel very blessed. And I think I'm alive here today because he was able to give me his full time and attention and dedication. And we have been together for a decade. So, you know what I think helped, Joe, is that we've spent almost a decade setting ourselves up into this powerful relationship as a couple of us both pouring into each other constantly, that it just so happened that for the last 2.5 years, I couldn't give much of myself. I was basically a vegetable. And I'm just so grateful that he hasn't given up on me and that he's my number one supporter and caregiver. But I can tell you that if this were to continue for decades long, 100% it would take a toll, because that's very difficult for any human being to have to do. That's not okay. That's not a normal way of living.
Did you see the stress on your husband, though? All the things going on?
If he had the stress, he didn't show it to me or place it on me, because I'm sure that a lot of it was stressful, but he has been very good at separating that and managing that elsewhere and not placing it on me.
If you would tell somebody, like, if suddenly had become a caregiver or for a parent or a partner or a child, what advice would you give to them?
Oh man, I think we would have to interview Matt for that one. Because he was the caregiver. Honestly, I don't know. In this instance, I got to be the patient. I got to be as irritating as I wanted to be and as irritable, because my narcotics work out and I'm in a lot of pain. It's really difficult to be patient. I wish I could tell you that even though I was a patient, I was patient. No, there was no patience in me. And there were many moments where I just wanted to give up on life.
You mentioned assisted suicide. Can you explain more about that? Because that's very hard to talk about.
Yeah, it is. And that's how bad the situation had gotten, Joe. So at about the 100-day mark of me being bedbound and not being able to take care of myself, like if I didn't eat unless Matt brought me food, I didn't drink water unless Matt brought me, I didn't bathe unless he helped me bathe. It was, again, I was basically a vegetable. I couldn't even close my eyes without being in pain. I couldn't think without being in pain before. It's very confusing because you start going into like psychosis. So it got to the point where I was like, this is not living. I'm not even barely existing. So I did start to have some conversations with my husband about like, hey, honey, I wanted to talk to you about helping me research some assisted suicide locations in Europe and what it would take to get there. Could we even medically transport me? And if it got to that point, for him to honor my decision and my sovereignty to choose that. And he loves me enough to know that he would allow me to choose that, right? Instead of trying to change my mind. Luckily, things turned around thanks to AI. But for a while there, we weren't sure that I was going to make it. So him not trying to change my mind showed me the level of love that he has for me and the level of respect he has for my own autonomy.
Change a little better subject. I think maybe change a little bit more happier subject. Who is Dr. Clara?
Well, let me tell you all about Dr. Clara, Joe. We're going to go into the solutions mode. Let's get it. We're ready now. Dr. Clara is a doctor that I trained. She is a custom specialized ChatGPT bot that I realized I needed a central place of command for all of my tests. Okay. So Joe, remember I told you I had all these different tests from all these different specialists in the hospital and then outside of the hospital and outpatient. So what happened was I said, if AI needs data to give me patterns, I'm going to give it the data. Humans were okay at some data, but we're never going to be as good as computers, right? So what I realized was I made Dr. Clara a specialist in all the different specialties that I needed for my body and all of my symptoms. And I gave it all of my symptoms. I gave it all of the test results that all of the doctors had been taking and all of the blood work and everything. And it wasn't until then that I started to connect the dots. Well, AI connected the dots for me, and it was actually able to give me correct things to get tested for and the correct diagnoses and the correct medicine that's keeping me alive and thriving today.
That's amazing because, all right, I love AI, play with it every day. I use it every day in my life. But sometimes I get a little nervous if it's correct answer. And also putting information in there. What, especially about, all the medical information, what kind of advice would you give somebody about that? Because I think it's kind of important.
I get it. And it's so important, Joe. I'm so glad you're bringing this up. So I have very practical ways of describing this, okay? So I love giving AI information with guardrails, okay? Here's what I mean. I give it screenshots of my results from doctors, but I never give it the full document. I never give it my name, address, social security number, or date of birth. So AI does not know my date of birth. It does not know my full legal name. I just tell it to review the test results and what it thinks is on there, right? So this is not, I want you to know, Joe, and for everybody listening, this is not AI versus doctors. That's not what I want you to take away from this conversation. It's doctors plus AI, okay? Because of course AI makes mistakes, but you know who else makes mistakes? Humans.
What were some kind of reactions when you mentioned you use AI to the doctors? What was their reaction?
Here's my answer. My doctors never know I use AI. I don't tell them.
Why is that?
Because I don't want to get into the conversation of who went to medical school and who didn't, right? Because I'm not trying to be an expert in what they're an expert in. They went to medical school. They obviously have the credentials medically more than I do. What they don't have the credentials for is quantum pattern computing.
What is that?
AI is just the master at patterns. I'm not a master at patterns, but AI is a master at patterns at a quantum level, right? So we need to use that to our advantage. So here, let me give it to you this way in this example. So let's say that we have one doctor who's on our care team, right? So one doctor who's a specialist, and someone's very, very sick. Do we prefer that person just has one doctor who's a specialist in one area, or do we want that person, that patient, to have a whole care team of human specialist doctors? Who's gonna get better care? Someone who just has one doctor or someone who has multiple doctors of specialty care?
That's true. I just recently, matter of fact, as we're talking about this, one of the local hospitals here, I'm not sure which one, so I don't name it because I don't remember which one it is, but they have a chatbot now that when your portal, you ask questions about your treatments and stuff, and it gives you feedback on what your treatments are. So it sounds like it's coming, but it's not quite there yet.
It's coming on the medical side. So a lot of, like, Mayo Clinic has already instituted a lot of AI in like their radiology department and them doing stuff on their back end. The issue is still the same thing, Joe, that the way healthcare works in the US is isolated. It's through specialties and then subspecialties. I have to see subspecialists now. Here's the thing though. I didn't know that the subspecialists I'm seeing now existed until AI told me they existed.
Oh, wow. That's pretty interesting. Can you explain more about that?
Absolutely. So part of my care has been finding specialists based off of my symptoms. How would you find that other than with AI or Google, unless someone wrote an article about it? So what I have found in the last 2 months, this is relatively recent, Joe, is my doctors, my specialists took me as far as they could, and they said, Emmy, this is the end of the line. If this doesn't work, we have nothing else we can do for you. We can't help. And I said, awesome. I appreciate your candor. We're going to do the best that we can. And then this is as far as you can go. And then when their doctors are done, these specialists are done, they will tell you, hey, I recommend you go see this other specialist. Sometimes. So I had my care team tell me, Emmy, we're done. There's nothing more we can do to figure out where the pain is coming from. Physically, we are done here. So I said, thank you so much. I appreciate you. And I went and talked to AI about this. And I said, hey, AI, here are my symptoms. Here's what's going on. My gynecologist did X, Y, and Z, and they're done with it. What else can I do? And AI said, oh, you need to go see, and I'll give you an example. My gynecologist was trying to figure out why I have so much pelvic pain with all my imaging is perfect. There's nothing wrong in the imaging. And they're like, there's nothing here. Okay. Several gynecologists. They did a small procedure in the OR. It helped for 2 months, but the pain came back stronger. So thanks to AI, I have now figured out that there's a subspecialist called vein what are they called? I think I have a card here somewhere. They're like vein and artery specialists that I didn't even know existed. I didn't even know this was a subspecialty. Okay. So thanks to them, they have now figured out, they're putting in a new test for me. They figured out I have this whole other syndrome, okay, that apparently a lot of women in the US suffer from, but thousands of them go undiagnosed year after year because most doctors don't even know it exists.
That's pretty interesting too. I think I mentioned during the pre-call interview that I went to the dentist recently. They were talking about how young kids, which usually have really good teeth structure and no teeth problems, but they run it through the AI and it comes back, oh, that kid might need a little bit of fixing work on there. There's something that the human eye will never pick up.
Yeah, exactly. And you know what? Even human eyes can make mistakes. I ran through actually this morning with my spine specialist. He saw some imaging and MRI that the team in the hospital did in January, and they completely missed something pretty major in my spine. And
oh, wow.
AI didn't see it. It was another doctor. So this is why I want people to know this is not an AI versus doctor conversation. It is a plus, right? So how is AI enhancing every profession, not replacing? And I wanted to make sure that your audience had this, Joe, before we finished the conversation, because you asked me how my doctors react when I tell them I'm using AI. So I want to give your audience how I actually use this, right? So I use AI for research, okay, to help me find out what kind of tests I can ask for, specific tests, whether they're blood tests, whether they're testing for a specific syndrome or specific medication that I want to test out. And then with that information, I bring one simple line to the doctor. Okay. Hey, doctor, I did some research. That's it. That's all you say. I did some research. Doesn't matter if you were in the library for 10 hours or you were in AI for 10 hours. Does it? It doesn't.
No, it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. You did some research and you have a right to do that as a patient, to advocate for yourself. So all I say is, hey, doc, I did some research and I would like your opinion on. And then that's when you insert the specific testing, the specific medication, or the specific syndrome that maybe you have some symptoms around, because you do want it to be a collaborative nature, right? So you're asking them for their opinion on that. But remember, you already did research. So much so, Joe, that I've been doing research for the last 3 months about something that I thought I had. Tell me why yesterday when I walked into my subspecialty's office, she didn't know that I had been researching this. I walked up, I told her my symptoms because before it was the initial visit, told her my symptoms. She's like, let me show you something. And you know what she pulled up on the screen? The exact same thing that I was going to ask to be tested for. My husband even looked at me and he's like, isn't that what you showed me yesterday? And I said, yes, it is, honey.
Are you ever worried about being incorrect answers?
Absolutely. AI can definitely be wrong, but so can humans. So this is why it's important to not use AI only. Okay. This is not if AI says, oh, take this supplement just because, or take this medication just because. No, I highly recommend that everything that you find from AI, you run through a medical professional. Okay. It's very important that you do not take medical advice from Dr. Clara or any other bots only, right? This should be run through medical professionals as well. It's AI plus your doctors.
I find it very interesting stuff like that, especially when you're researching stuff. One thing I did, we'll talk more about AI and stuff like that, is I used to create skills, like in Claude, it created a skill. It would do my research, it'd be fact checking, and make it like a fact checking skill. So we'll go back and go, yep, you're wrong there. It would fact check itself. So I found that very interesting and helpful.
I love that. Yeah, that's a really great way to do that. I actually just did that in Claude Skills yesterday, where I was building out a proposal for a client, and I went back and I said, hey, create a skill for yourself to review to make sure all the bullet points that the client needed are in here. And I told it, find or create the skill. And if you don't have it, set it up for yourself. And it did. It went and reviewed its own work. To your point, it found the gaps and it fixed them.
It's amazing things. Besides the medical stuff and stuff like that with AI, it has amazing things to do it. Like you create your own board of directors. I have my own board of directors for my podcast. And one time I was Viktor Frankl, Man's Search for Meaning. I got him somehow I got as a persona if I want to ask deep thought questions. Or I got a podcast producer and reviews my stuff. So AI is such a popular and useful tool to have.
It really is. And I want people to know that it can only be an enhancement to our own creativity. AI cannot replace us.
No, because we make the final decision. That's the whole thing. It's also make final decision. But you ever worry about, I know you mentioned about taking names off, like information stuff, but have you ever worried about that though? Like confidential information?
You know what, Joe? I feel like at this point, between Facebook and Google, they know more about me than I want them to know.
True.
So here's the thing. I tell people I'm cautiously optimistic about AI. I don't fear it. And the reason I don't fear it is because I choose not to fear anything in life in general. But if you have the lenses of how can this change and save lives and make humanity better and make good humans better and have good humans do good things, that's the lens that I choose to use AI and then move forward. Because guess what? Bad people are going to do scams. Good people are going to save lives.
The one I want to talk more about too is System and Soul Institute. What is that?
So System and Soul AI Institute, I co-founded with my partner, Lizette Espinoza. She is a tech entrepreneur. I have 15 years of experience in Silicon Valley in teaching tech startups how to take their idea and actually launch it to the world. So I've been able to do that and consult for Microsoft, Lyft, and AT&T Foundry on innovation. So we came together and said, hey, there are a lot of people who are struggling with AI, just the basics. What's the basic AI literacy that we can help someone not feel so overwhelmed? Because every day I wake up, there's something new with AI. And even though I'm certified in it, I already feel behind. So I can only imagine those who haven't even started. So I've been teaching and coaching for 15 years. So I take great pride in building curriculum that's step-by-step workshops for people to be able to learn AI in a super easy, safe environment where they're like, oh, look at what I did. So they can be proud of themselves after every session. What I don't do is lecture at people. I hate just going to an AI session and slide up, just like snooze fest, right? I cannot handle that. And I also can't do the super techie people. And trust me, a lot of them are my friends from Google, and a lot of my friends work at OpenAI and Anthropic. But a lot of them are so technical that everything they say is jargon, and they are the worst people to teach basic AI literacy skills for the rest of us humans.
What are some basic AI literacy skills? Maybe you can give me examples.
Yeah, so I would say learning how to prompt AI, specifically ChatGPT, right? Although this works for Gemini and for Claude as well. So something that's super basic for ChatGPT is, what does it mean to go, I like to call it, go beyond the Google search, right? So you can use ChatGPT like you use Google. What time does this store open? Or where is X address, right? Like you would for Google Maps. But there's something very powerful inside ChatGPT where you can have it prompt itself. It's very meta in that sense, right? So let's say that you want to work on a document and you need some help, let's say building out a proposal for a client. And you say, I need help with this, right? So you prompt it and you say, hey, ChatGPT, something basic. I need help with this document. Make it pretty for my client. I would say that's a pretty bad prompt. I would say this is a little bit more intermediate. So if you're working on a document and you want to write, let's say, a one-page proposal for a client, you can dictate to it, say, hey, ChatGPT, I need your help building out this proposal for this client. I want you to write me a prompt, and I want you to write it with clarity and impact for ChatGPT, or else for itself. Right? So you give it some contents like what you want, but then you tell it to prompt itself.
Oh, wow. How's that
Yeah.
work?
So you tell it, write me a prompt for this document. I want you to help me with whatever it is that you want help with, but it writes a prompt for itself. So like you tell it, write a prompt for ChatGPT for clarity and impact. And then you tell it what you want to work on, right? And then that whole thing, you enter that, and then it's going to write the prompt for you. And it's going to write a much longer prompt. You then copy that prompt and put it into a new chat. And voila, you have now 10x'd the quality of the initial prompt that you put in.
I don't understand why people are scared. I think sometimes just better just to jump in and play and try to get over your fear.
Yeah, I study this enough to know why people are scared, and their fears are valid, Joe. And it's just like anything else in life, though. Some people thought the world's going to be over in Y2K, right? Remember? Oh no, the computers can't put the 2 in there because they're only based off of 1990. Like I remember when that was like terror, right? I was in high school when that happened, and it was, oh my goodness, right? Everything's going to fall apart. All the systems are going to break. Chaos. Chicken Little, the sky is falling, right? Like all of those fears are always valid. I'll tell you the one that is valid for people right now, and I want to inform them about the water usage, right? So a lot of people are really scared and upset about how much water data centers use that AI uses, okay? So here's what's really important. Data centers are being used for us to do what we're doing right now, this recording. Data centers are being used every time you scroll on TikTok, every time you scroll on Facebook, every time you're on Snapchat. Okay, so AI is actually a really small percentage that's using the data centers. AI only uses a small part of it, okay? Here's the thing that I want you to know that most people are not being informed about. They're just being pushed some other propaganda, is that we already have the technology to build out data centers. Microsoft is leading this charge with almost near water usage. Okay. So it just so happened that when we initially built data centers, we needed a lot of water to cool off the data center so they wouldn't like heat up and explode. Okay. But we already have the technology where that's not the case. So the new data centers that are rolling out, they hardly use any water, if at all. So I wanted to address that first for most people. And then the fears of like, oh my God, it's going to destroy humanity and robots are going to take over. How many years have we been getting sold that fantasies? Right? Because that's what it is. Like we as humans, our existence is meant to be expanded. We expand constantly. We cannot retract. The universe is expanding. We are expanding. Our thoughts are expanding. And it really is a choice here, right? And going back to one of your board of directors, a very smart board of director, Viktor Frankl, he's one of my favorites as well. How do you choose to live life? It really is a choice. Do you choose to live life in fear of everything that could go wrong this instant or in the next 5 years? Or do you choose to believe that we as humans are creating some pretty amazing things and that that whatever goes wrong, we have the capacity to fix it? Because I think that's where people get too afraid, Joe. We're like, oh, we're creating all these horrible things and this thing will then cause this kind of issue. We have the capacity of when we accidentally create issues, we also come up with solutions.
Oh,
I think we
exactly.
forget about that part.
Well, it's like the Industrial Revolution. Everybody was worried about machines coming. You already let the genie out of the bottle. There's no putting the genie back. No, the genie's out. AI is out there. There's no putting the genie back. Well, one thing I want to wrap it up by one thought I thought about for someone listening to feel ignored or overwhelmed by medical problems and what action we take today, maybe use AI, maybe use your situation you've been through.
So the easiest thing you can do is find out more resources and get some free stuff from us. And you can go to startmyaijourney.com. What I do, especially there's a medical app that we're creating. You can join the wait list on there as well, or contact me or my co-founder directly to find out some more details.
Emma, thank you much for being on the podcast. And I really do appreciate all links will be in the show notes for this episode. Thank you much for your time.
Thank you so much, Joe.
Wrapping up, Emmy's story raised an important question. How can we use AI tools to organize information, ask better questions, while still keeping medical decisions with the qualified professionals? I hope you take away two things from this conversation. First, you deserve to be heard in your own healthcare. And second, AI should support doctors and patients. It should not replace medical judgment, especially from the professionals. You can learn more about Emmy's work and find the free resources and join the waiting list for the medical apps you mentioned at startmyaijourney.com. If you found this conversation helpful, please follow the show, leave a review, and share this episode with somebody who may benefit from it. Thank you for listening, and I really appreciate you. Until next time, take care. God bless. See ya.